So if a man walked up to you in the street or drove up to you in his car and said, "You are the one I've been searching my entire life for. Will you marry me?" Your reaction is obviously going to be just like this. You ain't going to know what's going to happen to you, especially if you're a high school student. Justified. Hello everyone and welcome to the Anime Daily, and thank you for joining me as we talk about episode 4 of The God of High School, the anime series. And what a great episode this was, both from a visual standpoint and from a character development standpoint. But also, this episode had a really good change from the original webtoon series, as the ending of this episode ends on a much more darker and more serious tone that was present in the webtoon series, but I found that this anime adaptation handled it a little bit more sort of better, in my personal opinion. And that's something that did surprise me, but honestly, it was enjoyable nevertheless. Now, this episode mostly focuses around Mira and her desires to make the moonlight sword style technique more world known, as she is the inheritor of the technique, and basically her grandfather passed away, and we know that basically she inherited that from her grandfather. Her grandfather said, "Please make sure this sword technique lives on. You are the only one that can do it." And honestly, with Mira being at such a young age at that time of her grandfather passing away, given a role like that must have been tough both physically and mentally on Maria's character. She grew up with the sole goal of wanting to revive and keep the Moonlight Sword style technique alive and make it prosper. That obviously meant that Mira didn't have the chance to act like a normal high school girl. She had to kind of put her desires to do girly things to one side in order to work on her swordsmanship. And yeah, that is a physical and mental kind of taxation on her being. And this episode reflects that in Maria's character in a very good way. Now, granted, my memory could be a little bit hazy from what I can remember, but Maria's reason for accepting a marriage in the webtoon series was for her family's sake, as they weren't the wealthiest family ever, and bills were stacking up. So having the change as to relating it more to the swordsmanship and that type of focus isn't that big of a deal, as it still plays with the same kind of character struggles. She's only a high school student, and things like finding a way to make your sword style live on and worldwide, or making sure your family has enough wealth to kind of be happy, shouldn't really be weighing too heavily on your mind. This episode gives us the lesson to Maria's character that, hey, relax, you're a high schooler. You should be having fun and laughing with your friends. Don't worry about adult things just yet. Let the adults do that. Also, it's okay to rely on your friends for support. And that's kind of the two messages that this episode was trying to give Maria's character with the whole wedding ordeal. She wasn't letting her friends in. She wasn't telling Mori or Deawi anything. She wasn't even telling her sister the real reason. Or her niece. I think it's her niece. Throughout this sort of first segment of the episode, Maria's learning to kind of be more open and share with those around her. And that's kind of a good development standpoint from Maria's character that was in this episode. I like the fact that the evil religious-looking group is getting involved in this episode, as the creepy purple-haired guy who proposed to Maria is seemingly a part of that group. And that sword has some kind of hidden potential that, only webtoon readers would know of. So Maria and anime-only watchers, would be kind of like, hold on a minute, what's this sword all about? Is there something that, is magical about this sword? Because it's said to be a sword that can rule the gods themselves. And that sparks a few interesting questions, really. Hopefully that gets elaborated on pretty soon. Honestly, I can't remember how far it is into the series. Oh well. Guess I have to reread it. All in all, this was a great piece of development for Maria's character, as it makes her character more open to the main group, showing off the bonds and friendship that the main three have together. And in general, it kind of gives us more information about Maria's character, and I like that. I also like the fact that a weird dark organization is kind of working in the shadows. They have Maria's sword, and they obviously wanted a hand that can basically wield that sword. So there's something kind of going on there. Maybe the sword can only work for Maria, or can it work with other people? We'll have to find out later on. Now, one thing I really did find a little bit hypocritical about Maria's character is at the end, when the girl's like, I've got your sword. She was like, nah, he can have it. But then when Mori took the sword in episode 1/2, she broke his neck. Okay, fine. I guess she had an epiphany in saying, my father's spirit never lived in that sword. He lived inside my heart. Okay, Maria, calm down. Then if we continue this episode, the mood shifts drastically. And we get Maria versus Deawi. The happy, friendly, cheerful vibes that we just witnessed from the wedding situation is shattered within seconds. As Deawi's friend is looking to be in serious trouble to the point where he might be dead. And Deawi, he just can't control himself. Even on his part-time job, he assaults those kind of a-hole jabronis that keep coming up to him and going, oh, look at you working late for your friend. Do you think it's going to get magically better? And rightly so, those guys were absolute P-words. So yeah, they deserved that, but I mean, Deawi, you just lost your job, and you need to calm down, bud. But despite all that, we see that he just literally can't hold it in anymore. He's got so much anger, so much frustration, that he makes so quick work of Maria. He basically aims for her wound that was caused at the wedding, and Maria is just lying in a pool of her own blood. A really short but aggressive match. One that's very impactful because it shows just how determined and how much, drive Deawi has. Like, he knows that now it's crunch time. He has to not mess around. Friendships and chivalry, all out the door. Gotta go all in. Now, there was a change, if I remember correctly. Majin Park told Deawi that he would heal his friend quicker if he won the finals. This, however, does still keep the aggressiveness and making Deawi's character more desperate and ruthless in the webtoon series. However, this change in the anime, I thought was a change for the better, as it gives us a more sense of urgency from Deawi's character, and it displays it in a lot more a more visual, impactful way that makes us go, oh my god, that things are getting serious. And that's the way that I kind of perceived this end of the episode, and I thought that the anime actually did one up on the webtoon series, although both are seemingly very good. And although this is a possible current change from the webtoons, it could still be, shown that Deawi and Mr. Park had a conversation in the next episode, and I really do like the way that they've shown the events unfold in this anime adaptation. I thought this episode was a very good and well constructed episode. Overall, this episode from the anime was absolutely amazing. The animation was stunning, the music was so good, and it helped make the scenes more impactful. The comedy was great. One small complaint that I have was the pushing scene. I thought that it was slightly funnier in the webtoon series, just simply because you had Deawi just pushing Mori, and it's like, you're not actually touching him or hurting him, so, I mean, you're not using your taekwondo, because they can't fight outside of the competition, otherwise they get disqualified. And I like the way that the nurses were introducing the fights and the middle kind of episode graphics that we've been seeing throughout the last couple of episodes. I think they're really creative and a nice addition to the series. The series just keeps on impressing me, and the pacing is a bit fast, but I really don't mind as much because we kind of known that the pacing is going to be quite quick. Because if we look at that amazing intro, and yes, I love the intro, the music is just absolutely amazing. We see, obviously, characters that are, past the finals. So we know that the series is going to go past that. So pacing-wise, I don't think it's that bad. Yes, it could slow down a little bit, but I hope they give more time to the Mori versus Deawi fight. Although Mori's current opponent that he's got to face in the semi-finals, they haven't shown him yet that much, and I feel like he deserves a little bit more shine, because I actually quite like that character. So hopefully we see a bit more from him in the next episode, but again, I feel like it's going to be one of those kind of quick matches, and then we're just going to get onto the finals. Wouldn't be too upset with that, just a tiny bit. However, I want to hear your thoughts on this episode down in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought. Is there anything that I missed that we can talk about in the comments? Just put them down there and I'll get back to you as soon as I see it. Like the video if you like the video, dislike if you dislike, but let me know why so I can improve these videos to help give you the best possible content. And yeah, like always, hope you have an amazing day. Alligator, matane. Goodbye. Oh, this jumper is hot. I can finally turn it off.